This is NBA Talk. I'm Erik Torenberg, joined by special guest Dan Barto, Head of Player Development at IMG Academy, along with my co-hosts Reuben Torenberg and Frack. Let's dive in.
What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
How you feeling?
Still disappointed, man.
Yo, we got a big game coming up in an hour and a half.
What's up, Dan?
What's up, Dan?
I like the Blazers hat.
Yep.
It's
Thank you.
the biggest game of the last 12 years of the Knicks. We'll be back to the Thibodeau fired if they lose tonight.
I think Thibodeau's job is safe, but you never know. He definitely did get outcoached. I'm still picking the Knicks in this series, even after 2 days after our personal September 11th event for this fan base.
September 11th.
I mean, just absolute devastation. But I still like the way we played, and if we can keep it together, I'm still picking the Knicks. But I'm delusional. Are you guys still picking the Knicks? Dan has picked the Knicks since the beginning, but he's also been a longtime Pacers appreciator as well. Dan,
Yep.
I'll put the ball in your court first. Kind of who picking and why?
Well, I think that the Pacers punched first. So, again, we'll see a lot what happens here. I don't mean punch first in regards to the last 3 minutes, but it looks like they showed their hand offensively, what they were going to try to do and who they were going to try to attack more so than the Knicks. I think the Knicks came out, played their game. Guys got to their spots. They played off Brunson. Cat went inside a little bit more, and they continued to attack the offensive glass and tried to stall the transition. Unfortunately, the lineup that the Pacers played and the way that they subbed, each guy that came in kept giving them a little bit more than probably any of us anticipated. Again, with Top and McConnell, the role players that you would think the Knicks would capitalize on actually came in and played their role perfectly all the way into overtime. And that's why I do like the Knicks continued. I don't think the Pacers will keep up with their bench play, and they would need somebody else to step up because I don't think Naismith can step up 3 games in a row, maybe 2 games in a row, but 3 games in a row in that manner. So I think even if the Knicks just play the exact same philosophy that they did, that they would be the better team based on the averages of what the Pacers would need to do. Brunson was amazing again, but I don't. If he's not amazing, it's because Indiana has made an adjustment to try to limit his shots, which then is just going to lead to easy shots. The thing that was scary for the Pacers is the amount of easy shots and easy layups that they were able to get by attacking, short roll situations, early slip, early offense. That was that second side stuff that I kind of talked to you guys about a little bit, where if you force the Pacers to the third side of the floor or you get it in a non-handler's hands on the second side of the floor, the Pacers avoided that for most of the second half, which was just amazing. That's really hard to do. They did it, and it led to easy offense and bad pre-switching by the Knicks and defensive transition off of misses. So when you can't pre-switch and kind of anticipate where those switches are going to be, then the result is uncontested layup, skip 3, the things that Halliburton just abused them on. But Knicks
What a
in
game.
6.
Knicks in 6 still.
Let's go.
We'll say, I think I agree. The bench certainly outplayed expectations, and came in and gave a lift as opposed to being, a hindrance. But we've been seeing them do that all playoffs long. It's not like it's a new thing. I think we continue to be surprised that they've done it against three good defenses in a row. Um, and I'm also a little surprised that they did it on the road. But I've really enjoyed how every time it seems to come down to late in the fourth quarter, they are just clearly less tired than the other team. And I think like it's almost at this point like a psychological belief that if they can get things close within late fourth quarter, that the game is winnable. I mean, there's got to be those are three of the craziest comebacks I've ever seen. I think they were down seven or more with under a minute in each of those three comeback wins. Is that right?
You're saying Pacers?
It was Milwaukee game five, Cavs game two, and Knicks game one.
Yeah, it was more than 7 points under a minute in all
Yeah,
three.
that's what it
Wow.
was. So I don't think I've ever heard of that. Even the 13 and 35 wasn't like that. Um, so yeah, Eric, I think the Knicks are awesome. I think they're the better team, but I think this is a team of destiny right here.
Yeah.
On your point, Ruben, I do think that you do have to continue to credit the Pacers organization, because if you really think about it, I'm just using the McConnell Toppin situation, right? Like those guys ran around in circles their whole career. Like even when Toppin was in New York, that's what he did, right?
Yeah,
Like
yep,
when he was in
yep,
college at Dayton, that's what he did.
yep.
McConnell, when he was at Duquesne in Arizona, that's what he did. So there is a little bit of shout out that has to continue to go to the Pacers for how they have traded and built this team and extended guys
And
and done.
Neesmith's that kind of guy too.
And
Like that's
Nembhard's the
a
same way.
great find.
Nembhard's
Nemhard
been
too.
making fourth quarter late heroic shots since he was 15 years old. Like
Yeah,
so
he's a
that's just
stud.
there's something to what they're doing, that there was some thought in deep dive, and I wouldn't be shocked to see some multiple Pacers front office people move into GM roles here in the next couple years.
And all right,
Based
hold on though. In overtime, that Jalen Brunson layup when they were up four that got blocked by Turner that they didn't call a goaltend, that was clearly a goaltend. That doesn't get called, or if that goaltend gets called, Knicks win the game. Very different conversation right now. It's amazing how fickle the game can be.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's different in that it's 1-0 Knicks, but I think we're still saying, hey, Knicks are in a good spot. Pacers are also in a good. It's a competitive series,
Yeah,
and
it's a toss up, huh?
and I personally think, maybe Dan disagrees, but I personally think Tibbs' job is, barring some major sweep or something. Even still, I think Tibbs' job is probably safe. He got to the Eastern Conference Finals. We haven't been there in 25 years, and I think Carlisle's not going anywhere. I think I'm not familiar with sort of the Pacers' offseason decisions, but it seems like both franchises are in a good spot. If you're the Cavs or the Celtics, are you just saying, hey, you got unlucky, Boston with injury, and you need to just sort of run it back, or are you making big changes?
You want to tackle this first, Dan?
I want to rewind to not. I'm not avoiding Eric's question. I'll answer in a second. I think if we are able to do another podcast here in 2 weeks, I think you're correct on the Pacers and Rick Carlisle thing. I don't think you're wrong, I don't think that you're unproven in your theory on Thibodeau, but it's the New York Knicks, so there will be drama. You have multiple superstars. You have a franchise that has been built through an agency, an acquisition of an agency's top agent, an acquisition of the agency's top manager. You have built a team by acquiring somebody's father before you could acquire the player. You can't tell me that there's not volatility there. Okay. So again, That's if they win the NBA championship, that will remain true.
Yeah.
It will have been validated
To
if
answer your
that
question,
happens.
yeah, it'll be the greatest strategy ever, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
I'm
gonna get
just
imitated.
with that strategy, you're one injury away, or Tibbs misplaying Brunson from things going astray. Cavs, Celtics need to blow it up 100% financially. Not blow it up, but I mean they have to make a major change. They have to make a major change financially within the next 18 months, whether that is this summer or whether that is by the trade deadline. They will have made a major move to either acquire picks or to make one more run at it next year. But they cannot compete with the physicality of the new league with the roster that they have. The Cavs are in the same boat. They are too small, and their 8 through 11 are not good enough, and they cannot play with the pace that they played with this year and keep everybody healthy all the way through the end of next year. So they either need to go and spend, or they need to make a trade that will allow their 8 through 11 to have more physicality like the Pacers have. You can't be shooting and skill players 6 through 10 like they have now.
And we'll do after the championship, we'll do another, breakdown team by team. But if you're the Knicks or the Pacers, and keep in mind when this comes out, the game two will already be be finished. But what adjustments do you think you're making, or what's important? Let's kind of predict the future a little bit. What's important to get right? If you're Thibodeau or Carlisle, what are you doing after game one? Dan, why don't you take first step?
I'm going to continue to go at the first substitution. Last game, you saw Campaign came in and gave the Knicks a great jolt there in the first half, and I think that helped them extend their lead when they did get into the third and fourth quarter, because Brunson was able to get that extra rest. And again, you probably spent 2 days working on your rotations when the shots go up. Just again, you can't change where you get your shots from as the Knicks. But by committing to trying to get Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson around the basket and staying committed to the offensive rebounding, that started to backfire in the second half. So you either need to pull somebody out and say, okay, we're going to live with not getting as many offensive rebounds. And if Cat isn't scoring in the paint early, like he did in the first 3 quarters, uh, then we have to consider floating him on the perimeter so that he can get back and anchor our defense a little bit better. So I'm sure there was a lot. I would have, if I was the coach, there would have been a lot of talk about rotations as the shot goes up, and then our if-then statements of, okay, if we are struggling in transition D again, then we need to do X. And they didn't have to make that adjustment because they were up 14 points with 4 minutes to go, right? So you didn't even have to think about it. And you're not going to even have those conversations outside of, hey, we need to get back better. It's not going to be a strategy in a timeout with 3 minutes to go when you're still up 10. So again, I'm sure they played it out. I'm sure they talked about this before the series. Everything worked great for whatever it was, 30, 40,
6
44.
minutes.
Yeah, 44 minutes. But you had your counters. Your counters will be
They
there.
were up 14 with 2:30 to go.
And
Uh,
the breakdowns were just astronomical. I mean,
They got
you
tired.
saw Cat and OG and Brunson get in a fight, or sort of get in a tiff on the bench. I mean, I don't, it feels like there was breakdowns all over. If Cat is yelling at OG for defensive lapses, I mean, that's obviously, sort of challenging. But I mean, how does Nesmith get those looks? I mean, coming off a pick and roll, not, we're playing drop coverage. What are we doing?
Aghast, man. If I'm the Pacers, I would just try and put as much mileage on Brunson as I could all game long. Like, just try and play the long game and tire him out through the series. And then on offense, just go at Karl Anthony Towns every time. Get him in the switch every time. Make him commit stupid fouls, and kind of punish him that way. And just stay away from, keep OG on like the other side of the court.
If you would you experiment with zone if you're the Knicks, or just like
Yeah.
keeping OG in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can. I mean, I was kind of shocked. I mean, they didn't need to play zone, but I guarantee in their time between the series, I'm sure they talked about it. I'm sure that they talked about it. I'm sure they practiced it, but they didn't need it until the 4 minute mark. And at that point, the guy's already hit four threes. You're not going to go zone and let
Right.
Halliburton or Naismith hit another three at that point. But
Yeah.
some strategic dead ball zone or zone looks, or again, you know, with the right guys on the ball, you can zone up more in your man to man. Does that make sense? Like you
Yeah.
can the where the Pacers kill you is on the diagonals to the corners, hit the short roll and throw it opposite. Those are the things that you have to avoid, right? Um, but you can zone up that backside as long as the hot hand isn't in the corner, right? Because you're basically conceding the corner diagonal or the short roll to corner diagonal if you step up. But I would think that you could zone up more when the ball's in Nemhard's hands. You can zone up more when the ball's in McConnell's hands. You can cheat to the middle and make those guys lob it over the top. Halliburton, Siakam, Toppin in the short roll, Turner in the short roll, Turner on the quick reversal. They don't have to lob the passes. They can zing the passes. They can hit the slip at 100 miles an hour when the guy's only open for a millisecond. So I think that if you're the Knicks, you do have to pack it in, especially once the ball gets to the second side, and concede corner threes till somebody else gets hot.
Yeah. And it is also just worth noting Pacers beating the Cavs and Knicks beating the Celtics, both relatively decisively, at least Pacers Cavs, just so remarkable. I mean, just it's almost like March Madness. It's
Yeah.
just like a different level of.
You really don't see this in the NBA. It's awesome. I mean, it speaks to parity. I mean, I don't think it speaks to the second apron at all, but
There's a
that's what they're
this
aiming for.
this is the interesting theory. In college, you guys, I don't know how big of college football fans you are, but in college
Big.
football, right? Every year, a top 25 team gets upset by a mid major, right? Okay. Every year there's I don't want to say Boise State because they were awesome like last 2 years, but like every year there's somebody that comes out of nowhere that's in a middle of the pack conference. These middle of the pack conference teams, somebody upsets Michigan State, somebody upsets Iowa, somebody upsets
Appalachian
UCLA,
states of the world.
right? But when those matchups happen in like week 5 and 6 of the college season, you never see those upsets because all of these teams start getting some injuries and their second and third units can't maintain, and the teams have multiple scouts on them with their new personnel by week 5 and week 6. All right. So that's what I kind of see happen to the Celtics and the Cavs this year. They really don't have the bodies. If you watch the layup lines and you watch the Indiana layup line and you watch the Cleveland layup line, it looks like a high major playing a mid major. Now, obviously, Evan Mobley is an all star and Mitchell is an all star, and they fit and look the part, right? But when you get to the rest of the layup line, it doesn't look like the rest of the Pacers layup line. Does that make sense? Like Max Strus and Jarris Walker don't look the same. So over the course of time, that catches up with you in college football. That catches up with you in situations like this. If you, whatever you want to say from an optic standpoint, when you look at the Celtics bench and layup line on the second side, like it just doesn't look like the Knicks. I mean, Precious Achua and what's Cody from Australia and my man's name? Like these
Oh,
guys run
Cody.
around, they just look the part. So that's who their first unit's been playing against in training. Deuce McBride, McBride comes off the bench. He looks like a linebacker, and that's not what Peyton Pritchard looks like. Like that's not what Sam Hauser looks like. That's not what The what's the other guy that they didn't play
Luke
that much?
Cornett.
He's like, no, not Luke Cornett. There's the other guy that they didn't play. That's the power forward that's been with them for 2 or 3. He was a great college player, but
Tillman
he's
or
like Evan
Shireman?
Tillman. Yeah, Tillman looks like an offensive lineman. He doesn't look like a basketball player. And I just think the way the game's being played and the way the refs are letting them play physical, like that matters. That matters not just for the execution of the game. That matters for what you've been practicing against for 7 months carries over to these longer type of series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. Let's go to the Western Conference a bit. And before getting to the Thunder and Timberwolves, let's just briefly reflect on the Thunder Nuggets and then the Timberwolves and Warriors.
Lakers in 5.
Well, first I just want to say, it's unfair. It's unfortunate that with the Thunder, there's still an elite team remaining, because if the Nuggets won, it's truly, truly like anyone could win, and it's like upset city. And what do you make of the Thunder basketball? And you see the Timberwolves complaining, like, are the Thunder playing just a different kind of game? Are the Thunder playing are they just too good and it's unfair? Kind of like the old Spurs or something. Like, what do you make of the Thunder, Dan?
I think it's more. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Reuben.
Yeah, my bad.
I
Go for it.
monopolized the first. I monopolized the Eastern.
I think it's more along the lines of the second thing you said than the first. They're so deep. I mean, depth is the name of the game. I would love to see them play the Pacers in the finals because the guys who do play, when they play, they're going all out. Like Kasem Wallace they've got like 3 players who have the 3 best hands in the league between Kasem Wallace, Dort, and yeah, I guess just them two. Every player, oh, and Caruso, and all 3 of them are just stud defenders. I think they've just got so much depth and so much good defense that like their defense is the one thing I am most confident in any team in the whole playoffs because it shows up every night. They go on these runs where they just get like 3 or 4 steals in a row. I think the physicality part of it, everyone is playing incredibly physical and more physical than they were in the season. So I kind of don't really give much credence to the complaining about it. T-Wolves are doing the same thing.
Eric. Go, Eric. What's your Oklahoma City take?
I think that I virtually agree. I mean, I think people call Brunson a foul baiter too. I think just SGA's really really great. I think Lou Dort, I think is sort of he's not exactly Draymond Green, but he is like quite subtly sort of he's a good actor.
He's an agitator.
Yeah, he's an agitator. He's very strong. I mean, I think this team, Isaiah Hartenstein was such a great pickup.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Hartenstein. Him and Caruso, 2 best pickups of the
Yeah.
offseason.
But Hartenstein, $30 million a year, it's not cheap. So Thunder can't keep this roster for a while. So they're really making a run at it. And I think they're the favorites. I mean, I'd put them at 60 to 70% chance of winning the finals. I think they're tough. They're really, really good, and they win kind of blowouts, boring games. But it's hard to score on them. Can the Knicks match their physicality? Can the Pacers? Knicks got blown out by them. The regular season. I don't know how the Pacers did.
That doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean too much.
That's true. Knicks got blown out by the Celtics too, but
You're just a different team. I think the Knicks are a much better team right now than they were in the season.
Thunder are just the most complete team. Now, I don't know why the T-Wolves can't match up with them. Gobert, Randall, Reed.
They're off right now. That's the thing. I think it's so easy to shit on the Wolves right now because they've had 2 off games. I'm curious to see how they play when they're at home. Like, what if they take the next 2 and then it's 2-2?
I would have loved to have seen the Warriors with Curry play the Oklahoma City. because I think Timberwolves, because they played OK Warriors without Curry, weren't truly tested, right?
I can't remember a playoffs where injuries played such a big role. There's always injuries. It always plays a role. I remember, the Warriors making it where every point guard they played was injured. But Curry going down immediately changed the whole series. Tatum going down changed the whole series. And these are like bad injuries. Both
Is it
Tatum
is
and
is
Dame
it
with the Achilles
is it um how do I say it? Is it the NBA's fault?
because of schedule and like
I mean,
lifting, making the game more physical.
yeah, I think it's just I mean, a couple factors, right? Rule changes, okay? You have um hard cap, so parity, so night in and night out, you have more physicality, even though Eric's seven bottom teams are still tanking via 2015 strategy, and it didn't work in the lottery, which was hilarious.
He's the
Uh,
one pulling the strings for all seven teams.
the yeah, we'll call it the blow it up. But
Team blow it up.
the team blow it up, the uh, load management reaction for the fans. Okay, so whoever decided that guys can't decide when they're going to sit out. So this was the real first year of that, where teams could be heavily fined for manipulating medical data or for allowing players to sit out in road games, especially.
The
So
awards, the
there was
awards limit.
there was the awards limit. There was also no, by doing that, there's no precedent, so there's nothing to learn from. So this is the year to learn from, right? So now teams will be able to adjust their medical to work around the new rules to potentially do that. But in trying to satisfy the fans in the regular season, with only 2 years of the play in, not play in, only 2 years of the mid-season tournament, which is also a major physical disruptor for a bunch of teams, they put themselves behind the eight ball. And I think that, again, just like anything else, like it's these are the consequences. People learn from it, they move on. But I don't think it's the players' fault. I could sit here and say, oh, it was their off-season training program. It's their usage. It's their strength program because they're doing too much massage therapy. Like, you could point in a million directions and never get a true answer. I do think that, you know it. I think the midseason tournament followed by rule changes was a bad decision. That's too much too fast. Rule changes, the three of those things combined, the mandatory load management slash awards, the midseason tournament 2 years ago, and the the mandatory play kind of fear. I think the combination of those threes was a very risky proposition, and it probably helped them with attendance and interest during the year and ratings during the year, but cost them from us having a true integral finals with the healthiest teams. Is integral a word? That's not the right word, but
Yeah, yeah, integral.
Yeah, no, I think
Um,
it is the right word.
the one thing I want to say is fascinating about the Pacers, going back to it for a second, we'll come back to Western Conference, is, there used to be this thing of like, you can't win without you can't win if you don't have a star, if you don't have a superstar. And I don't even know if Pacers have a top 20 player in the NBA. But their depth is so they're just playing a different kind of basketball. Like, like the Pistons won it on defense, 2004 Pistons, right? Without a top 20 player, and they were so complete. Like, if the Pacers make the finals, I will. I mean, I already tip my cap to them. It feels like they're just sort of, creating a different kind of basketball relative to other teams in this league and winning without superstars.
Well, what exactly would you point to that's so different? Is it just that they play fast as hell and hard as hell for the whole time? Like,
Yeah. Knicks play five starters above 34 minutes a game. Pacers, nobody plays more than 34 minutes a game. So they play 10 deep, and they can go deeper as they need to.
yeah, I
And
think that
Jarrett
that's
Walker
the
doesn't
one
even
to
play.
point to. Yeah, hey, Darius Walker doesn't even play. I think, and the Thunder play 10 deep too. So I think the teams that like are poised for more success in this new era that Dan described very well is the teams that have the most depth and the most good players at those depth positions, so that you're not giving back points when they're in the game.
And I
It's
think
a
that's fair.
survival game.
I mean, even Ben Shepherd played his college career at a huge high pace, right?
Right. And
Nembhard
he
played
played
his
big minutes. He
career.
guarded Brunson those last 4 minutes.
Yeah, and so these guys, I mean, they do have different. It's one thing to play at a different pace. It's another thing to have guys on your team that have the DNA of being able to play at that pace for a long time. And I don't. Again, I can't prove that that was the Pacers' strategy. But even Jarris Walker, who's not playing a lot, who's an IMG alum, like I mean, the guy was pedigree from a very young age of, playing hard. He won a national championship here as a ninth grader. He went to play for maybe the most gruesome defensive coach in college basketball in Calvin Sampson at Houston for a year, after spending 4 years being in this training environment. He's not contributing necessarily, but he's contributing in practice. He's bringing a level of intensity and athleticism and physicality to practice that makes their execution better for when they play the Knicks. So again, maybe he should have been considered more. He should be considered more for the the general manager or president of basketball operations of the year, or whatever the award is, because when you dig into it that way, you can connect a lot of dots there that make all these late game heroics possible.
Yeah. And I think you got to call Tyrese Halliburton a top 20 player at this point.
This season,
I mean,
clearly,
we're talking about right now. We're not talking about pedigree. We're not talking about all time. We're talking about current top 20.
He's having a great run. I mean, I'm looking at their salary cap. I'm like, how did they
I mean,
afford
this
all
is
this?
more than a great run. This is like the greatest playoff clutch heroics run I've ever seen.
and I'm not agreeing with, but he was bad for like 2 months this year. Like
The first 2 months he was pretty bad.
awful, and last year he was injured. So I'm
Right.
not. Eric could win in a court of law with a tremendous argument and 2 week jurors, but he's not getting a 12-0 vote. I just think that the like you can't. I mean, what he's done here is generational.
And also, this is 6 months of sustained excellence. It's not like he's been doing this only for a month or two. First 2 months were bad, but the next 6 have been really good. Certainly top 20 worthy.
Yeah, it's ballpark. I mean, I think I'm looking at their salary cap, and basically the only player who's going to get paid a lot more next year than this year is Nembhard. Nembhard makes $2 million a year, which is crazy. But next year he's going to make $18 million a year,
Which is cheap.
Yeah, that's cheap. He's good.
Another GM.
Yeah, they locked up Nesmith for $11 million a year on 3 more years. Obi's at $12 million a year. TJ McConnell's at $10 million. Matherin's still on his rookie contract. Jarris Walker on rookie contract. So Ben Shepherd. I mean, they got a lot of good guys, young guys. Yeah.
Yeah, all these dudes can play, and they all get minutes and are like confident when they go in. I think that's the problem with like a Thibodeau type strategy, is that when men 8, 9, and 10 come in, even if they're good, they're like so cold. Like they don't have the minutes necessary to be confident in a playoff game. Like this is as high stakes as it gets.
Did Pacers draft all these guys? How'd they?
Yeah, I mean
they signed TJ McConnell.
Yeah,
They drafted Matherin. They drafted Shepherd.
Traded for Siakam and top.
Right. That Siakam
Nesmith?
trade. Siakam's been such a good fit. Nesmith they traded for. He was part of the Brogdon trade.
Yes.
And Siakam, they traded just Bruce Brown and some picks, or Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think that's it. Bruce Brown, good player too.
I feel like Raptors, man, worst GM of last.
Wallowing away out there. Yeah, I mean they had a good team. Siakam, Anunoby, and Powell all playing well right now. Van Vliet.
No,
right, so maybe let's go back.
Fleet was good. I was kind of sad to see Houston back to the Western Conference. I was kind of sad to see Houston because I wanted there to be like a 7-minute Dylan Brooks tirade by Eric. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. They just kind of they kind of ran out of gas, and they didn't have the pieces for the matchup. But the Western Conference has been about the matchups. Like,
Yeah.
what's interesting is I would love to know who Oklahoma City, like when they were sitting around and they're like, okay, it's our off season before we sign Hartenstein and before we sign and we make this Caruso trade for Giddey, which obviously is showing to be, the Jokic killer. Like, were they like sitting there saying, okay, we need to beat LA and Denver? Were they sitting there saying, okay, the Clippers are going to be really good with Kawhi back? Like, who were they? Were they building for all occasions? Like, because now we don't know, like the playoffs could have played out completely differently, right? Like, if just for instance, if the Lakers kept Anthony Davis, right, is that a different match? The way these playoffs play out is just different. It's just there's no doubt about that. Or the way that the last 10 games of the season go and the matchups in the first round end up completely different, right? If who knows? Like, we have no real way of knowing, but I do know that the OKC has three guys that can be star stoppers. That's why they're a bad matchup for Anthony Edwards, because he's only in his second real playoffs where he has to learn when and how to get off the ball to get it back to be an attacker. He didn't have to do that in the first two rounds, and it's a skill he really doesn't have. He doesn't have that sixth sense of, hey, I need to get off it super early, be super patient, get it back with 12 seconds, and then I'll probably have my best downhill opportunity or my best isolation opportunity. He just wants to score out of the same sets that they ran all through the season and all through these two playoffs. And it's just not going to work with the length, physicality, and toughness of Dort, Cason Wallace, Caruso, and all of those guys. And
Even
for
Wiggins is good too.
for Minnesota to be effective, they probably need to play Mike Conley more, and they probably need to play Rudy Gobert less, and they probably need to try to throw off the tempo and the switches to get Anthony Edwards advantages more so than the way they tried to get them so far.
Yeah.
Because all they're getting is contested threes or hero ball made shots.
And also their role players have been zeros. Naz Reid has been a total zero. That guy couldn't miss against the Lakers. Absolutely torched him.
But he was wide open against the Lakers. Now there's somebody within his space, though he's going from uncontested jumpers to contested jumpers because the athleticism difference and space eating difference of Oklahoma City is much different than the space eating of the Lakers.
Totally. And it's neutralizing DiVincenzo too. And Alexander Walker.
And I think Conley can be a little bit of a calming force if they play him. Hell, even if they play Rob Dillingham and let him jitterbug around out there and get into the paint and make some things happen, I think that it could be beneficial for them for the tempo of creating advantages for Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. They have no advantages, right? Like last night, they had no advantages. Everything was contested, gapped, through three people, over taught. Like that's just. I don't want to say it's poor coaching. It's just tremendous preparation and on-court defensive communication by OKC.
Yeah. Deep cut. How about some Terrence Shannon?
Well, God willing for the kid, I would hope, but I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the athleticism that they need to put on to.
He's a great athlete.
To Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but
and Jalen Clark too. He actually played a little bit in game one.
With Shai, they don't have an answer. I mean, I'm guessing Minnesota finds a defensive minded point guard to be on their team for next year just to prepare for Shai.
What do you think about Shai, Eric? Like, do you buy into this foul baiting narrative and that it's a negative?
I watch Draymond Green and I see clear sort of asymmetry of treatment. Like I like in terms of the technical fouls thing. Like I think he gets away with stuff that other people don't get away with. I don't see Shea doing things that feel like, I don't think he's getting called in an unfair way where I think people are fouling him. I think he's an amazing sort of foul baiter, but they do seem like actual fouls.
Totally. And also, like, this is the game. Like,
And it's like Brunson, and they're just master footwork, right? So, I mean, I think Shea, he's the MVP. He's he's the best offensive player in the NBA. Probably, he's just unguardable. Maybe Jokic, but some other. But no, I'm a Shea believer. Like I said, I put Thunder 70% chance winning the finals.
And I don't think he would get all those calls at Boston, if that makes sense, right? I just think same referees, same no agenda. I just think on the road at Boston, maybe only 80% of those are getting called. I do think that Minnesota's temperament towards referees and the coaches' temperament in general doesn't help them. I mean, you see DiVincenzo, we all know Randall's volatility. Obviously, Anthony Edwards isn't, setting the world on fire, trying to be a role model in the world. And I think that, again, the combination of all that, and they're a little heavy footed. So Shea is getting the best angles against guys that are trying to lean in and hit him. So the way you counter that is you just actually hit him. Does that make sense? Like you drive him, you knock him to the floor, you hedge hard on a screen and knock him back through half court. Like it's not intentional, but you're just being like, he's not turning the corner, or we're going to trap him and chest him there. And you make somebody else. You just say, hey, if we're going to lose game 3, he's taking 12 shots. He's not taking 20. It's just not going to happen. And by him shooting all these free throws, you would hope that their hope has to be that he is tiring out, even though he was, Superman last night. Now he's got to fly to Minnesota, right? Now the refs are going to ref it a little bit different. So that strategy for Minnesota could end up leading to a blowout and then a really close game 4.
Do you treat, Dort the way other teams treat Josh Hart? Basically like, sort of try to double off SGA much more, put Gobert on Dort or something. And just have him floating, or sort of how do you adjust defensively? Like who should take the shots if not SGA?
I mean, I think you let anybody but SGA. But SGA gains his advantages in transition. So some of it is the types of shots that you take, right? So again, if they make 2 more threes and they change some of what they do on offense, that allows them to set their defense. If they set their defense, they can pick Shea up earlier. If they pick Shea up earlier, then he can't hit ahead as easy. Like a lot of his hit ahead and get it back, and a lot of his veer through traffic and transition sets up the angle that ultimately gets him fouled. But I mean, you make Dort shoot, you make Caruso shoot, you make Hartenstein shoot 8-foot floaters. And again, we're not talking about Chet Holmgren, but he was amazing, right? Like
incredible.
He was like two of the best like sneaky games that you could ever imagine. He's doing a great job of reading the drives and reading the defense and doing all the things that he needs to do to get easy baskets. And he deserves credit for that. But again, halfway through the game last night, they should have walloped him into the ground again. And they didn't do that. Like that's the difference between the 90s and the early 2000s and now, right? Like we're a fan-friendly game. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. This Oklahoma City team would not have advanced out of the first round 10 years ago. It wouldn't have happened.
Because they just would have because why?
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Because the people because there was 25 Draymond Greens 10 years ago. We just don't talk about it that way.
Who else would you consider to be like another Draymond?
Right now?
Back
Bobby
then.
Portis. Right? His team just didn't get there. I mean, I think Nasri could be that guy if he wanted to, right? Like physically and mentally, he's got some stuff to him. I don't know if he has the green light. I don't know if he has the green light to do that, but the Pacers better be thinking about that. The Knicks better be thinking about that because that's how you beat a young team and a young coach.
Well, to that, do you guys think the T-Wolves have a chance of winning this series? Or what is it like bigger than 10%?
Yeah, but it's not much more than that. It's probably, I'd say 20, 25.
That's pretty high.
I think they're going to win 2 games. I don't think it's going to be a 4 or 5 game series.
Yeah, I think that in our last podcast, I talked about just some of the like I thought maybe Dagnall could get out coach some and could take some risks, and they backfire. I think the matchups have played into their hands some, and their bench has been better than I probably positioned. But as Reuben mentioned, they've done this all year. They've played 10 guys all year. They've run their system all year. They've shared the ball. They've shared the minutes. It's SGA and everybody else. The narrative has been the same. Whereas Minnesota, to me, outkick their coverage. Right? They outkick their coverage in the first 2 series, and now, water finds its level.
And when you say outkick their coverage, what does that mean?
They did better than they should have.
A hell of a job as a coach.
Yeah.
Riding his star and putting in people in position to beat teams that are probably better than them. And they have that. The team was built with length and a rim protector, and was built to give them a chance. And he moved all the chess pieces perfectly, but there's just no grease left and no oil left to grease the wheels to keep this kind of manipulation going.
Yeah.
And they and Denver got tired, right? Like, and I'm sorry, who'd they play in the last round? Denver? No.
Warriors.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, they beat the Warriors without Steph. Some things fell in line for them that normally wouldn't have. And now the water's finding its level with that roster.
Yeah.
Still sad about Steph.
And should Warriors be bummed? Like, do they underperform, or hey, just with Steph they maybe win?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Steph you maybe win, and so you have to take everything with a grain of salt the entire series. So you're just not the same team without him because he's incredible. But I continue to be so unbelievably disappointed at how they treat and talk about Kuminga. I hope that they let him go to another team and like flourish.
Well, I hope so too, so we can revisit this. When Kuminga's on the Wizards, Jordan pulling it up.
I mean, he got minutes and he balled out. Obviously, I could have told you that was coming.
He did, but it wasn't in the Warriors system. That's the problem.
But the Warriors system doesn't exist without Steph on the court. So you can't, all those minutes you have to take with a grain of salt.
Okay, so let's call it Kerr's system. If you
got to change the system without Steph. You have to play a different game. A game that is more in line with what the rest of the league has to deal with because there's only one Steph.
But Kerr didn't draft these players as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Kerr's out there finding ways. I give the GM credit. Jimmy Butler will help them go 28-4 or 5, 6, whatever it was on their run. But again, you have an underperforming Moses Moody. You have an underperforming Kuminga. You have an underperform. I mean, you're out there with Quinton Post, which again, you could say, oh, that was a great acquisition, or you can say, come on, you can't go get a real NBA like power forward that can contribute more. He's just everybody that's been next to Steph has been a good player, right? Like you're on the floor, guy's going to make you better to a certain degree. And it goes back. Look, when Bob Myers left, you knew it was going to get to this point. So something has to give. In the front office is family. So I'm guessing that either they let Kerr bring in who he wants to upgrade the team, or this will be Steve Kerr's last season by choice, and he'll take a year off, or he'll already have his exit plan to go over and take over the team that's ready to make a jump, whether that's the
You think
Wizards
he'll
or
continue coaching?
I don't think he'll go. I don't think that he'll go out on a negative note. I mean, I guess he could be a commentator and be really really good.
Or a
But
GM?
if that's even in his mind, then he should resign September 7th and just stick it to him.
Yeah. If you're the Warriors, do you run it back or with more or less the same people, or what move are you looking to make?
Trade Kuminga. You have to. I mean, Kerr just came out yesterday and said that Kuminga, like the way he plays, just doesn't fit with the three guys that they have. And you're coming out and saying that about your 22-year-old player. Like, if I was Kuminga, I would say trade me tomorrow so that I can actually play, and not be judged in such a way
Who do you get for
preemptively.
Kuminga?
That's a great question, but I think you can pursue a lot. I think he's got value, and I think they rebuilt some of his value in towards the end, in that playoff series. I think they did a shitty job of diminishing his value towards the end of the season.
But did
But
they? But did they? I mean, they were 27-6.
they were on a great run, but they were on a great run with Kuminga before he got injured as well, and he was dropping 25 a night. So
Should they
I
get
think they
like
could have done that run with Kuminga
But
on the
that,
court. He was hurt.
but yeah, but to my point, when you're chasing Steph and Jimmy Butler around, you pretty much can put anybody in that position to be the third scorer. That could have been Alex Caruso. That could have been Naz Reid. That could have been, you know, Nikola Jovic from the if they make a trade
From the
with
Heat. Yeah,
the
but and those guys would get minutes and be able
I
to build
don't
chemistry
think,
with those players. That's the
and
difference.
I
They chose
just
not to play him.
and I don't think Kuminga thinks that he's a max player, and B, where do you go where his style of isolation works? I mean, OKC he could play in that system, but they're not trading for him.
could you get
No, they're not.
Zubac in LA? Could you get Quickly in Toronto? I'm just sort of
Could you get
thinking like
Jared
Yeah,
Allen in Cleveland?
Toronto is probably where he ends up, to be honest with you.
where?
Toronto.
Toronto, I mean, somewhere like Toronto or Charlotte, where you're swapping him out
Yeah.
for a Miles Bridges, or you're swapping him out for somebody with a similar issue, probably makes the most sense. And I don't mean issue. I just mean, again, like he said, Kerr doesn't fit. You watch him play, like he's pounding that ball and isolating, while they're taking advantage of the fact that the other team, the defense is spread out trying to guard Steph and Jimmy. And Pajinski does a great job. He was terrible in the playoffs, but he does a great job of putting the defense off balance to give other people attack angles. And I think he should be grateful and should have been more compliant.
Yeah.
Kuminga, you're saying?
Yeah,
Do you get Julius Randle?
they could. Yeah, I mean, that's
Talk about someone who has rebuilt his stock quickly.
an interesting.
Is
So
Curry,
we should
Butler, and
revisit that
Randle?
trade. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Eric. What did you say?
I was going to say, could you get Curry, sort of Butler and Randle, and trade Kuminga for Randle? But T-Wolves don't want Kuminga. They don't want to give him a max contract. So
No, but I mean, you could do a sign. They could re-sign Randall, right? I mean, Randall's a true free agent, so you could do a sign and trade where you take Kuminga and Looney and you kind of swap it out. I don't know if Randall and Draymond really fit, but
I forgot.
I mean,
Draymond.
I think we're going to see a million amazing scenarios, going into the year. So that's the fun part.
Maybe they'll get Giannis.
Let's close it out with a couple questions. Where do you think Giannis goes? Like, and who can feasibly get him? It's the Rockets, the Thunder.
Spurs?
I mean, Milwaukee owes him nothing, so I don't think it's going to be a Luka type of deal. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a behind the scenes win-win. I think this obviously it's out there, and probably not to the liking of Giannis's camp. I'm guessing Milwaukee planted the story ahead of time to try to muster up the best offers to remain competitive. So, that to me, usually when that happens, the team is light years ahead of what they want to do. And I'm not saying they're going to trade him to a non-contender, but it's going to be where they can extract the most value. And it's probably going to be to a GM that wants to make himself relevant. So do the math. I mean, it could be Utah. It could be Toronto. Could be Portland.
Well, give me, what would be a better offer to the Bucks than Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and Deuce McBride?
Well,
That's a lot to give away.
From a coaching lens, that helps you. That helps Milwaukee try to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What
do you think about? Yeah,
sorry. The thing that I think you have to execute if you're Milwaukee, the thing you have to try to do is you have to try to keep the fans engaged. Doesn't mean you have to have as big of a superstar, but if you can get Tyler Hero, that's good. Like hometown hero coming back, like that's going to sell tickets. Just like Golden State, like bringing in Jimmy one way or another, it was the right move at the right time. Now everybody's excited about Steph and Jimmy next year coming back, and everybody's I would highly doubt that they lost one season ticket holder. So when you look at it through the lens of the ownership, you have to try to replicate the fandom. I mean, would you take Devin Booker and Bradley Beal?
Number 2 pick, Steph Castle, Vassell?
I don't think that you can have Wemby and Giannis on the same court. There's just
You don't think so? You don't like the fit?
I just don't like the angles of how you would have to. I mean, the game's getting away from 5-out offense, and both those guys are so dependent upon 5-out offense for what they do, the way they take advantage of their length. Like their values are actually diminishing in the new league. Not their brands, not their dominance, but their contributions to winning in the new NBA systems is going to diminish because they clearly benefited from the style of play and the lack of physicality. And again, if Dame was healthy, maybe this would be a whole different. We'd be talking about how are the Knicks going to beat the Bucks or whoever, whatever.
In our last podcast, I offered Cat and Bridges for Giannis, and you were like, the Bucks don't do it. So someone's stock value went down, or someone's went up.
Yeah, Bridges went back up.
Yeah, that's good.
But you just said more than that. You said
I gave Deuce 2. But I still don't think the Bucks do it because, or if I do it, I'm not the Bucks because I guess if you're trying to stay competitive, yes, to Dan's point, but I'm trying to either win or go home, and this just doesn't make Bucks a contender. If the Knicks aren't winning the finals, the Bucks sure as hell aren't winning the finals. So, without Brunson, so I think I go for Amen Thompson, and
you're not getting Thompson though. He's untouchable.
Okay,
it's Jalen Green and maybe Şengün.
But okay, maybe Sengun. I'm getting draft picks. I'm getting like a haul. Utah's giving me 10 picks or something.
Shit, man, get the Thunder's picks and Chet.
What? Yeah, I know we have to go and talk about our winners for the NBA Finals here, but I challenge you guys to do two things as we move out of the playoffs here in the coming weeks and into the summer. One, young players are going to have less of an impact until the fourth year of their career than in the history of the NBA, with the way that everything is playing out and the way that teams need to groom players slowly with the tax cap. Two, as you think about trades, you have to either put on your coach hat, your GM hat, or your owner hat, because that's the only way that you can really make sense of why the decisions that get made. And every organization has different stakeholders that make those decisions, But again, if I'm Ime Udoka, I don't want Giannis. I built this. We're really good. We're really close. These guys love me. I've made a lot of them stars. don't do this to me. Don't break up what I've built. It's going to demotivate me.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm just being, that's not a shot at Giannis. That's nothing against Giannis. That's just the motive. That's just the motivation. Now, if I'm the Brooklyn Nets and I want to sell a stake of my franchise to a private equity firm, then I'm giving away every pick that I just got from the Knicks for Giannis, and I'm helping them get Tyler Hero by sending some guys there, and it can be Giannis and 6 G leaguers running around because my international brand is going to take off, and my valuation of what I sell off is going to be much higher.
Yep.
You know, and again, I think that so many times we look at it through the pure GM lens, not the on-court coaching lens, or where it is the stage of the ownership lens of things. And so I'll go first. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Pacers over the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I'm rooting for the Knicks. Is that okay?
I thought you had Knicks in 6 before.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm saying Knicks in 6, and unfortunately, I will say that Oklahoma City will beat New York. I picked New York to win it, but just with the way the pace of the Pacers series, win or lose, is going to be too much to then play that pace again against a team that plays that pace for a living in Oklahoma City.
I didn't bet on my home team the first time, and I got punished for it. Dan is the winner there, so I'm going to, now that the backs are against the ropes, bet on the Knicks to beat the Pacers in. I'm going in 6 as well, and then I have them also beating the Thunder in 6. I know that I even bet Reuben $100 that the Knicks win the championship. So
He did.
I know that's a tough bet, no spread even, but that's my pick. Reuben, what about you?
I got Thunder over Pacers in 6. And I got Pacers over Knicks in 7. At the Garden again.
Wow. Well,
But you're going with OKC in the
OKC in 6. I think they're the best team by far.
Okay, so let's play Knicks can't lose Brunson. Pacers can't lose Halliburton. We all think Oklahoma City, they can't lose Shea. Who's the next remaining player that a team can't afford to lose? Because there's going to be another injury, whether we like it or not.
I think it's Chet or Siakam.
More so than Bridges. Bridges was going to be my pick. Like,
he's great. I love him. And Anunoby.
You mean get injured? Bridges has,
Bridges has never missed a game.
I know, but I'm saying, like, he's the next most important piece to it of the team.
Yeah, I get it. I thought you would say Towns. I figured Erik would say Towns. I think he's a wonderful player.
How can he get injured? Did you watch him run?
He looked injured towards the end of last game.
It's impossible for him to run. His feet barely leave the ground.
I will say Mitch Robinson is playing incredibly for us, and almost so much so that I wonder if he should start over Hart. But he's doing great off the bench too. But.
All right, $100,000. You had to bet yes or no. Would he pass a performance-enhancing drug test right now?
Mitch Robinson?
In a contract year.
What does that mean? He's injured or he's doing drugs?
The latter.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you're in a contract year, like Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, like these guys that are in contract years, like I would just wish they could. I mean, I know they're gonna, they're gonna test somebody that has no chance of failing. But I'm saying, like, that's my conspiracy for contract years, right?
Yeah.
Like Mitch Robinson would not be playing this well if it was year 2 of a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, he is,
and of course he's not injured this time.
There's nothing matter with that. There's zero matter with that. I have no problems with anything. I just am saying, they're like, man, the guy went from having no motor and limping around to just being, a ninja, like literally. Outside of Tough.
I think he has the
week.
best plus minus on the team or something. He's absolutely crushing it. Well, on that note, the game's about to start. Let's wrap. Another great conversation. Excited to circle back after the series.
It's a treat, fellas.
Go Knicks.
Yes.